Yes, it's
Hi,
Darice.
how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm gonna be off camera today, like last time, but this time, hi Lynn.
Hi.
Um, I'm just saying hello. I'm this time I will be participating and actively listening and helping things along. I heard Lynn told me that um last last time she got nervous.
Right, right.
So, you know, I had only let you guys in and to save the recording, I wasn't paying attention. In fact, I went downstairs to grab some coffee and I came back expecting you guys to be in the beginning of the process and nobody was here. And I thought, oh my God, did it kick them off somehow? Did I do something wrong with Zoom? Where are they? Um, so today, Lynn, um, first of all, can you guys hear me okay?
I can
What's
hear you
that?
fine.
You can hear me okay? All right.
Yes.
Um, so well, first, okay, I'm adjusting my mic here a little bit. Um, Lynn, you had mentioned that you were only answering two questions today. Is there
Yeah.
a reason for that?
What?
What's the reason for only answering
Oh, because I just didn't think I could absorb and remember more than two topic points, speaking whatever topics.
questions? So what
Mm.
I did notice in the few minutes, Chris, that from the last time was that you have you're I don't know if you're a podcaster or if you're in the habit of interviewing people, but I immediately recognized that you're a good interviewer. So
Okay.
even though I didn't listen, so Lynn, I don't well, Chris, first of all, how much time were you planning on spending here today?
Well, with just two questions, I figured it'd be over in 15 minutes, honestly.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to suggest, because here's what Lynn, the reason that in that group meeting that I had suggested that if people want help practicing, that they, if they can't, if it's not, if they can't do a one-on-one coaching call with me, that just practicing with a friend or someone they know,
Yeah.
is helpful, right? So, we've got 15 minutes here and you've got a wonderful, very nice, generous friend who also happens to be good at interviewing. And by the way, Chris, why is that? Do you have a podcast or something?
No, but actually, I'm very good at public speaking, and it started. I went to Catholic school, and
Huh?
by second grade, we were already having to stand in front of the class and give oral presentations.
Oh, wow.
And then I became an instructor. I did a lot of training classes. And then as a writer, I've done an awful lot of seminars. And then I've also interviewed quite a few people. I actually wrote a celebrity biography. I don't know if you know who it is. His name is Ken Osmond. He played Eddie Haskell on the show Leave It to Beaver.
Okay.
And so I interviewed him, but I also have done a lot of interviewing of veterans because I'll write short, like profile pieces for the local paper. So yeah, I've done a lot of interviewing. I've done a lot of presenting and so forth. So yeah, I just always look
Got
at it
it.
this way. It's like I've been shot at 2 times. It's like, that's the worst that can happen, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. So now it makes sense because I was like, what? Where did she get this guy from? Like, what? What?
Oh, well, I met him at a writer's luncheon.
Oh, okay. Well, great job finding good friends who have talent and who are willing to show up not once but twice for you for free.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Hi, Chris. Thank you.
Sure.
So,
Darice, I feel like you're getting to working towards asking me to ask more questions. You want me to ask follow-up
well,
questions or?
I just feel like Lynn, we've got 15 minutes. Chris was expecting to spend about 15 minutes
Yeah.
here, and I would kind of go with the flow and not worry so much about landing your speaking points. That's what you have me for. We do that on separate calls. So
Oh,
what I'd like to do is um, see what happens without the pressure of landing the speaking points. I put you through that rigorous, I put you through that when it's you and me. Like this is different. I want to see what happens in a space where someone is interviewing you and see what happens more natural way. And there's two reasons for this. One, that'll relieve your nervousness. Okay. Just have a conversation with your friend. Okay.
okay.
And the other thing, I want to see what happens in a situation um, where that's a little bit more organic and not as rehearsed. You've got me to rehearse with and to do, if you were doing an actual media interview, you and I would be spending 3 days together before your interview and helping you deliver speaking points. I don't think this is the space for this. I mean, let's just see what happens, answer the questions, like any other conversation. But before you start, I'm going to get rid of my Fathom here. It's
Get rid of your what?
I'm going to get rid of my Fathom. It's a recording device or app that I use.
Oh,
Okay. There we go. And speaking of recording, I'm going to stop the Zoom recording real quick,
Okay.
but I'm going to start it again. And this is just in case the recording doesn't go anywhere, Chris, just so you know, it stays with me personally on my computer. But I record just in case we capture something that either of you might want to use for some reason, just in case. It's for no other purpose than that. And we never publish anything without your explicit permission, both of you. So
That's good because I'm in the witness protection program. So
are you really?
no,
You never
no.
know. I seriously, you never know.
But that's a joke.
The recording has stopped.
When I would be doing talks, and because there's always somebody, usually the person who helped set up the meeting, they want to take pictures of you. And I would always say, "Oh, no pictures. I'm in the witness protection program," and it would always get a lot of laughs. So it's kind of one of my go-to jokes.
I always have to do a double take because book authors are an interesting lot.
Yeah.
And I've worked with many, many, many. And you have, actually, we have one of the Publicity Lab members is he's an AI expert.
Oh.
And he discovered some technology that ended up having the FBI show up at his door because
Really?
he discovered, yeah, it's actually part of his story. So you just never know.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna start recording again, and then I'm gonna let Chris take the lead, and just couple of questions, but from there, Chris, just go, whatever comes to mind, follow-up questions, anything, and let's just go with the flow and have a conversation, okay?
Okay. Sounds good.
Let me find my record button. Oh,
This meeting is being recorded.
And here we go.
Go ahead and start.
Yep, go ahead and start.
Okay. We are back with Lynn Brown Rosenberg, who wrote My Sexual Awakening at 70. And we had a great interview last time. And Lynn, I just had a couple follow-up questions after digging into the book, really getting down in the weeds in it. One of the things that caught my eye was the fact that you said there's a power to saying yes in the bedroom. And I was wondering if you could just expound on that for our listeners.
Well, saying yes in the bedroom is important because saying no can become habitual and unhealthy for a fulfilling sex life.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It takes courage to open your mind to new ideas, but it's liberating and it can change your life.
And interesting. Which do you think is easier to say, yes or no?
What'd you say?
Which do you think is easier to say in the bedroom, yes or no?
Oh. Well, saying yes is a bit of a challenge, or it can be if somebody is really reserved, particularly a woman.
Right. And you say that saying yes. Now, have you found that by saying yes, maybe that first time, that then saying yes just becomes easier as you go on in the relationship?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So
So,
you,
if your partner asks you to do something sexually that you have not done, well, there's an example. You could think about it for a moment before you say no, and maybe take a chance.
okay.
And it could even possibly enhance your relationship.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's more important or probably a better strategy to have the conversations before you get into the bedroom and before the clothes start coming off, to sit down with your partner in a kind of a not as threatening of a venue as a bedroom can be, to have that conversation some other place, and then it's kind of ironed out at that point.
Sure. Yes, that's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah. And I would think that actually having that conversation ironed out before you get into the bedroom and, as they say, jump into the sack, uh, it seems like it could possibly even lead to more anticipation and stimulation. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
Okay. Excellent.
So,
So anything else?
hmm?
Anything else on saying yes?
Yes, just one thing. Saying yes in the bedroom is important and can be really helpful, but by no means should you do something you really don't want to do.
Okay. Absolutely. Let me ask you something. Saying yes, I guess what I want to say is it can't be just black or white, yes or no. Can it be yes with, but I want to just take this slow, or I want to make sure I'm enjoying it, or I want to make sure I'm not hurting or terrified or whatever as it goes along, to where you can say, I'll say yes, but we can put the brakes on.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. Ready
Now,
for the next question?
okay. So you also talked about dating younger men. All right. Like your book was My Sexual Awakening at 70. So, there's a good 50 years of younger men out there starting at 70. So quite a target-rich environment. But why would you want to date a younger man?
Well, why? Because it's fun. It's well, younger men have great stamina, greater stamina than an older man,
Okay.
and they have less sexual issues, and their bodies are amazing.
Okay. What about, let's talk about the experience level though. You can be a younger person, but you haven't had as much experience as, say, someone who's older. So is there kind of a sweet spot, or are all young men and old men not created equal?
Well, I haven't had sex with all of the younger men in this country or in the world, you know, so I can only speak from my experience, but it's been good. I can say that. It's been
Okay.
fabulous.
All right. So let's just establish that as like, well, okay, it's a good thing for an older woman to try to find a younger man. Let's just take that at as face value. Now, where exactly though would an older woman meet a younger man?
Well, I think the best bet is a dating site where you can put the age that you're interested in, or you put a range of ages.
Okay, okay. And this is like on dating sites or whatever.
On the computer, online.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, you can Google dating sites. I mean there are plenty of them, and yeah.
would you limit it to that if you were, say, in the market for a younger model, so to speak? Would you limit it to that, or are there other places you would uh, basically go hunting in? Would you try to put yourself into social situations, for example, where you would meet younger men?
I probably wouldn't do that.
Okay,
Yeah,
why is that? And
because
why is that?
I don't think I'd be comfortable doing that.
Okay,
Comfortable on a one-on-one online.
all right,
That's my feeling. And age difference dating is becoming much less of a stigma than it ever was. And not too long ago, if a younger man, older woman were seen together, uh, they they weren't well thought of. They raised eyebrows.
right.
So yeah, and a cougar, the word cougar isn't isn't what it was. I'm screwing up. Um,
No, cougar. I've heard of cougars, and it applies to older women looking for younger men,
exactly.
and very amorous older women typically.
Very amorous.
Okay, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'm of the belief that there's no such thing as dirty sex or a clean fight. So, yeah, whatever goes. But let's explore it a little further. What about long term? Do you think that there's any any pros and cons for being in a relationship with a younger man? Do you see it as kind of, call it, flaming out? After a short time, the novelty is over, or do you think that there's some possibility for long-term relationship?
It depends on the couple,
Mhm.
but I forgot where it was. The God, I completely forgot. I'm sorry. The word cougar is a cliche now.
Right.
And what was your question? Oh, long term.
Yeah.
Long term. If a woman wants a long term relationship with a younger man, it could happen. I
Okay.
have I have two friends who have married men 20 years younger than themselves.
All right. So there's possibility out there. Uh, what would you say you would say if you were looking for a younger man, but you were looking for something more long term? What sort of qualities would you look at in that man to see if it was, worth your time, where it just doesn't become a fling that comes and goes, like I said, flames out?
Well, I'll answer your question, but some women might just want a relationship of sex only with a younger man,
Okay.
not interested in a long-term relationship.
Okay.
What I look for, I would look to see if the man was kind of serious about me
Okay.
and what qualities he had. Um, you're throwing me off with these questions.
Oh, take your time.
Um,
We're just having a conversation here. We're just
yeah,
talking.
And I'm going to pop in just for a second
yeah,
because I have some thoughts and experiences.
that's good. We're almost done.
Yes. So, um, this is just, me, sharing some personal experience. So I'm 54 years old.
What? No way.
I'm 54. And um I spent all of my 30s with an older man, a man who was almost 20 years older than me.
Hmm.
And initially, um I had hesitation because I thought because it was just not that I hadn't been hit on by older men, but this was someone who was very much pursuing me, who was part of my community, a leader in my community. I was a leader in my community, and it made me do some mental gymnastics because he was also extremely handsome and smart. Like he had all the qualities of a man that I would normally be attracted to, but the age difference did I, it gave me pause, right? So like I wasn't even sure if I could be attracted to someone. I was a little over 30 and he was almost 50.
Right.
Um I was like, can I be attracted to someone who's old enough to be my dad? Like there was like a weird thing about it. Turned out to be the best sexual relationship of my entire freaking life, before, since. Um and it didn't take long for me to realize that, I mean, this it was off the charts sexual attraction. But
Hmm.
initially I didn't even realize I didn't even know if I could be attracted to him, simply because of the age difference.
Right.
Now now that's me being a young woman at the time. And but at this and as the years went on, I noticed a lot of young men being attracted to me well into my 40s. uh,
Hmm.
you know 21-year-olds hitting on me when I was old enough to be their mother,
Right.
and without hesitation on their part.
Hmm.
So my question then, Lynn, is like, I actually I felt almost fetishized, and but at the same time it's like, well, maybe this is a guy thing. Like, for the young men, do you find that they just, the age is just a number, like, they just really don't care? Or is there an element of fetishization when they're approaching older women? Like, um, or does it even matter? If they have, an older woman fetish, does that even matter when you're considering having sex with a younger man?
I think it depends on the guy. you know,
Tell.
I'm not thinking that I would be married and have a long-term relationship with a younger man, but like I say, I know two women who do.
Right. So from your perspective, like you wouldn't even probably care, right? You're like, I just want to have fun.
Friends with
And
benefits.
Yeah, right.
okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just had
Want
to.
to say something about I think I was okay in the beginning, but I didn't know Chris was gonna ask me these questions like that, so that threw me off a little bit.
What were the questions you were expecting today?
Well, I just sent to him, he did what you asked him to do. I just wasn't not prepared for that. I thought I was just gonna go on and talk and he wouldn't be involved. I would just do my thing. But so
Were
it,
there any points? Were there any points that didn't get made?
that's a good question. No, actually. No.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
basically, Darice, what I did was Lynn had sent me 2 questions, and then she said I answered by making 5 points, and then when I'm finished with that question, the next question, then she said, again, I have 5 answers, which honestly I think is a little too much for an answer. And
mhm.
but basically what I did is I just kind of took her main questions and used those as like a launching off point.
Yeah, you did a good job. You did a great job.
A great job, which is why we're kind of taking advantage of that today, Lynn, because it's, you know, when I suggested ask a friend to have a conversation with you to just help you do, just a little practice,
Mhm.
um, you kind of hit the jackpot. You have a friend who is a really good interviewer.
I did hit the jackpot.
Yeah. So just being mindful of Chris's expectations of our call. It's 10:21 a.m. Chris was only expecting to be here for 15 minutes. So I just want to,
Should we let him go and then we can talk for a couple
unless
minutes?
he wants to stay for any amount of time.
Well, Darice, when I said 15 minutes, it wasn't like I have another Zoom call or meeting or anything. I'm retired, and so as long as it takes, I thought you were saying about how long, if I was going to stay with Lynn's script, did I think it would take. But if
Right.
you want me to kind of just explore and spitball and play around and ask some more questions, that's fine. I'm
I'd
like I said, there's
love
nothing pressing right now.
I would love that. This is a great opportunity, Lynn. I know Lynn, you're you're so good at preparing and um you always do your homework and you put a lot of thought into the work that you and I do together. This is an opportunity to just sort of imagine a conversation, like, the two of you are hanging out at a cocktail party or something, or you're at a conference. There's no pressure on this interview. It's just an opportunity to have somebody ask the kinds of questions that you already have the answer to. They're in your head, right?
Right.
So this is an opportunity to just chit chat about a topic that's near and dear to your heart. And
No, like I said, Chris did a great job and it's good practice for me.
yeah,
Someone asked me the questions.
yeah,
Right. Darice, what I told Lynn after the last time is number one, if you have to read your answers off of a piece of paper, that's not going to cut it. And I think the problem was she was trying to read the answers literally word for word, where I agree with you. This needs to be a conversation. And
I thought of that after you said that.
right.
And then I made a page of bullet points.
Okay. And those bullet points, they're important, but also it, as Darice says, this needs to be organic. And honestly, if one bullet point doesn't get talked about, it's not the end of the world. It's more important if 3 or 4 of them really hit the target, I think. I don't know, Darice, what do you think?
100%. So when we're developing bullet points, when you and I are working together, that is part of the development process, right? That's part of that's more behind the scenes work, right? That is when you and I are working and we're using the bullet points and we're developing the bullet points, that is to help train your brain around the what you want to communicate. But it's not a script. We don't want, there's a reason why I work with non-scripted shows. We do joke about it because everybody uses bullet points and everybody prepares and everything. So we kind of joke and we put non-scripted in air quotes often and we
Right.
laugh. But it is non-scripted, and you want to be able to take advantage of the moments when you have the space to just talk, from your heart, from your experience, from your, even your opinion, especially in your case, because you have a lot more wiggle room for opinion, even though one of the things I talk about when you're a guest expert, often they're not looking for your opinion, especially in television. They're looking for some take information that the viewers can apply to their lives. But it doesn't mean, you have to sit there and treat this like you're taking a test or like,
Yeah.
like Chris said, it's better to have, one really good delivery of one speaking point and forget the rest than to memorize 5 speaking points that just don't come around, don't land as authentic, right? And because that you don't want to look rehearsed.
Right. Yeah.
It
I-
needs to look like an organic conversation, even though you've prepared with me in real life, right? Like if this were a real interview with a real show host, we would have spent our time together working on speaking point stuff.
Mhm.
And then you would show up, but you'd still need to be authentic. I pointed you to, I always point you to Dr. Sherry's website and to look at her interviews. Look at how she delivered. It's almost like you would have no idea that she had, that I had created the topic and the speaking points and that she had prepared or anything.
She's very natural.
It looks natural, right? It looks like it's just happening in the moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is. Sometimes a host will go sideways and not ask you the questions that you were prepared for, and you have to be able to handle that. And the best way is just to kind of listen to what the host is saying and just like you would in any other conversation, just respond with whatever you think. So we're going to take advantage of Chris's generosity with his time and talent right now. And we're just gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna turn off my mic again, and let's just like Chris said, let's just have a little spitball and talk about, sex after 70.
Okay.
All righty, so we are back. And Lynn, I wanted to go circle kind of back around to the saying yes in the bedroom. Have you ever said yes in your own personal experience and then regretted it? Or has every time you said yes been like, why didn't I say yes to this before?
There was one time I regretted it, but other than that, yeah, it's worked out pretty good.
Excellent, excellent. So the odds are in the favor of saying yes.
Yes, yes, the odds.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear that. And I think it's important you kind of make the point about a breakthrough, and we talked about it, about saying yes, and then it just becomes a little bit easier to say yes after that. So
Yeah.
okay, and then back to the topic of the younger men. Can you share with our audience any of the experiences you've had with younger men, both good and bad?
They've all been good.
All been good. Okay. All right. Well, that that was a short answer,
Yeah.
but why were they good? Let me ask you that. Why?
Well, first of all, they're very attractive.
Okay.
They're very attractive. And I'm not talking about hundreds, thousands of men. I'm talking about the few that I have been with.
Okay.
And they're fun. And they pretty much know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you ever maybe not interrogate wouldn't be the best word, but did you ever ask them what their experience was like with you? Did it live up to their expectations?
No,
No, you didn't ask that.
no.
Okay. Would you ever put yourself in their place and say, I wonder what it's like to have sex with an older woman and what their expectation might be, so that maybe it wouldn't just be a short-term thing, maybe, a one-night stand, but where, okay, if I can put myself into the mindset of a younger person with whom I would like to have a sexual relationship, what am I going to bring to the party to make it satisfying for them and satisfying enough that they say, hey, I want to get together again? Have you ever put yourself into the young man's mindset?
Occasionally.
Okay, great.
But I've never really discussed it with them, but I took it for what it was. I took it for what it was, and I enjoyed myself.
Okay, okay.
And
But
it takes courage for new ideas and to be with somebody new, let alone younger.
right.
But it's very it's healthy and it's invigorating and it's a little bit of a challenge and it's fun.
Okay. Let's talk about a little bit of a challenge. Why is it a little bit of a challenge? Challenge for who? You
Well,
or the man?
no, me.
Oh, and why is that?
Well, because I have a body that's older. I have
Okay.
a body that's older. And yeah, that's the challenge, to be able to literally expose yourself and yeah, and at the same time enjoy what you're doing.
Okay. So it was more of a situation as far as the challenge for you was like, you know, getting undressed and having your body exposed. And were you ever nervous about, well, is this going to end it right here? Is
Well, sure, I was nervous.
okay.
I
And
mean, I had one night of great fun with a younger man that was 40 years younger than me.
oh, wow. And
Huh?
and so you
And
had,
what? And well, it was just one night,
okay.
but I went for it. You know,
Okay.
you know, it was amazing.
And once you had your clothes off, and there wasn't any sort of like, well, maybe this isn't a good idea, he backs out or anything, did it
No,
just totally just free you up?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
wasn't worried about the future or, but it, like I said, it takes courage to
Right.
do something like this with a man that much younger than yourself.
Okay. Now, you talked about also the difficulty of being older, and when you uh, expounded on it, you talked about the kind of the concern, the fear, the trepidation of them seeing your older body. What could you say out there to other seniors uh, about the physical aspects of it? Say, sore joints and so forth and so on. Uh, is there limitations, with positions and
Yes.
oh, and even does it ever affect your stamina being older?
No, but there are certain positions that I can't do with all my joint replacements.
Okay, all
You
right,
know, the sex may not be what it was when you were 20,
sure.
but you do what you can, and hopefully the person understands and it's okay with. But some of these are one night stands, and so we don't progress to that point. But if you are in a relationship, if you can, be open enough about your situation
Hmm.
where you're at physically, then you have the opportunity, and he has the opportunity to get to know one another on a little bit deeper basis.
Okay,
So it might be different, but and that's especially when you are in a relationship. A person cares for you, you care for him, and you deal with each person's flaws or
limitations. Yeah,
limitations is a better word.
right. Now, have you ever discussed any of your limitations with any of these lovers that we're just going to be a one night stand, or do you just say I'm not going to try to burden the whole situation by saying, well, I can't do this position because of this or that.
No, I don't get into it, and it wasn't necessary. But I do say that in my book, My Sexual Awakening at 70. I do go into that.
Kind of the mechanics of
Yeah.
things because of
Yeah.
limitations.
Uh,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Darice,
Yeah, no, this is great. You actually, mission accomplished in the last 10 minutes. That was very different. I don't know if you could feel the difference, Lynn.
No,
Um,
I I I was more intimidated than the first time because
oh, and you didn't sound more intimidated. I mean, you
no.
cut there's a little bit short, but you sounded more natural
okay,
and you were drawing upon personal experiences.
yeah,
And another thing that's good with these conversations is that some questions come up that you might not expect. Like Chris asked some really good questions that I never thought of in all the hours you and I have spent together. So that's something to think about. It's we might have a whole new topic out of this because Chris asked some questions that got me thinking that we should probably spend a little time talking about the perspective of the other man, or like the whether some of us feel shame about our older bodies, right? Like our bodies change. Holy cow, do they change? I found a bikini from the 80s the other day, at which I like I was like, how did I even get? I can't even get one boob into this whole top. How did I get? What? You know? And so our bodies change,
Yep.
and sometimes we feel shame about that, and the other thing that came up that you started to talk a little bit about, Lynn, was the difference between a one night stand and an ongoing relationship where you have more time to get to know each other's limitations or preferences. But it brings up another thing. One thing that I know for sure about myself that I've always been clear about in my my online dating site. I haven't been dating for years. I sort of, I've been on a break, a long break. But one thing that was always clear about is that I need trust. It like the more in love someone is with me, and the more I trust them, and the more I know that they care about me, the freakier I get. Like, but it's sort of different for men, or some men. Like some men, I know a couple in particular who are freakier when they don't know someone, but once they fall in love, they have trouble reconciling this this sweet person who they know and the freakiness that was in their mind 6 months ago, right? And for me, it's the opposite. And I have a feeling that I'm not alone with, women are always, you know, we're known for wanting relationships. But I think a lot of that comes just from wanting to feel safe, right? And we want that level of trust, especially if you have really freaky thoughts, right? You don't want that to go out into the world with some stranger, like, you know what I mean? And so I've always been clear with guys like, look, I don't, I'm not down for friends with benefits stuff, right? That might change as I get older. Like for you, Lynn, you're so comfortable in like, hey, I just want to have fun with this young guy and move on with life. Right? It was fun. Like, and I can see that changing in me with age too. But because your confidence does grow as you grow. Like you said, you have to have courage to expose yourself in so many ways sexually, right? And that comes with age, with that wisdom of like, who the f cares what this dude thinks of me, right? Who cares, right? I'm gonna have fun.
I
But when
am looking for, I would really like to have a relationship, a deep and whatever, close relationship. But in the meantime, while I'm not having that, that, you know, that's where the younger men came into play.
and then what I also know about your story, and I have to, it's been so long since I've read your book, I need to read it again. And Chris, I met Lynn, oh geez, when I met Lynn almost 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And so it's been a while since I've read the book, but there's a lot you had to overcome a lot of issues around shame and and some of us have not worked through all of that when it comes to sex, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting, that is, so you don't have to answer that now, but that's something that came to mind during your conversation that I hadn't really thought about before.
So I just have one question.
Yeah.
Did you think I did a better job the second time than the first time?
Yes.
Definitely.
I hesitated so much, right?
Yep. Like I told
Well,
you before, Lynn, I said, quit trying to memorize answers. I said, just off extemporaneously, just off the cuff. Somebody asked me once, they said, how come you're so comfortable up in front of a crowd speaking? And I says, because I know my topic and I believe in what I am saying. And when you're not having to lie and basically frame everything up, it's so much easier. You were way better this last time, this second round here.
Even though I hemmed and hawed?
You didn't
You
hem and
didn't
haw as much you did when you were trying to answer the questions exactly. That's when you were hemming and hawing and looking down.
Oh, okay.
So while speaking points are important because you do want to deliver your points, but that when we're really focusing on those speaking points, it's not the day of the interview. That's when you are prepping with me. The day of the interview, you don't have to do, these aren't lines in a script. You're not being you don't want to be an actress delivering line. You just want to make the point. And so however that comes out naturally, it's going to be better than memorizing a speaking point and trying to remember it. You already know the point because you've already spent the time with, preparing. And at the day of the interview, you just do what's natural, because the points will be there for you.
Okay.
No, that was great. And Chris, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
I don't know how interested I know you're retired, but I also know you're a book author. I don't know how interested you are in promoting your book, but I'd like to gift you free membership if you want it at the Publicity Lab, where I do like group coaching, and we work on little projects together. Like right now, we're some of us are working on our media contact lists, and sometimes we talk about all different kinds of things. Lynn can fill you in.
Contact list for getting on TV.
Okay.
Producers.
Yeah. So Chris, my little weird little, very strange little niche in my career is I help producers find guest experts, and I help mostly book authors develop their expertise, even writers of fiction.
Okay.
And I teach them how to get TV publicity, and I support the other parts of their platform though too. So like I'll bring in sometimes I'll bring in TV producers to meet with them. Sometimes I bring in, who did we have last month? Oh, we had Ruth Klein, who's good at like helping people with book proposals and that sort of thing. I've got a public speaking person coming next month. So I support all of the other ways that people work on their public facing content. But my niche is television and positioning people to pitch themselves as guest experts, especially for national television, but all kinds of television. And I'd love to just, as a thank you, just give you an honorary free membership if you're interested. I'll set up an account for you, and you're welcome to come. Or we have 3 calls every month. The first 3 Wednesdays of every month at 3:30 for 45 minutes.
Okay.
And we just started having very regular guests come. Instead of the occasional guest coming in to spend time with us, we're now having one of those Wednesdays be dedicated to bringing in somebody like, literary agent, TV producer, public speaking experts, social media experts, people who can help with managing the media contact, the technology around keeping a list of media contacts. So I have an expert to help with the things that I'm not an expert in once a month.
Okay.
And it's a new, for 20 something years, I was working in the trenches as a publicist.
Okay.
And the Publicity Lab is new, and developing, and it's a place for people to learn how to get their own and do it on their own. And it's also a place for networking and helping each other and experimenting. And yeah, I'd love to. I think that you bring you kind of you bring your book author, but you're also, even though you're not you don't have a podcast, I think you should.
You're not the first person to say that.
I would make note because you have a talent. So anyway, love to have you. I'll set something up for you if you ever feel like.
Okay. All right. If I may, I've actually kind of changed gear.
Oh, you just froze. I don't know if you can hear me. His camera froze. I don't know if he can hear me.
Oh, he's now writing children's books.
Oh,
In addition to, he wrote one book. He wrote on it 3 times in 3 different books. But the first book I really loved. Yeah, it's a really good book. He's very good with action.
have fun. Yeah. It's funny, when it comes to finding expertise, one of my favorite things is to work with people who aren't writing how-to books. I think we lost him.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I can give me your information and
Yeah. I
oh,
want to.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
he's back. Yay.
Yeah. I was going to say I have made a switch from adult fiction, crime fiction, and thrillers, and I'm working on a educational middle grade book series called Ripple Effects, which we could talk about. But I think if there was anything where I could offer it to you that could be value added, it's my last book. It's called Dark State, and it's about a terrorist attack that takes down the electrical grid of the state of California.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I was an industrial electrician for 20 years, and I did probably it took me 6 or 7 years to write this book because I did so much research on the grid and where the vulnerabilities are and what it would take to bring it down and the lead time of equipment and then the impact. The impact would be absolutely unbelievable. Everything from I interviewed mortuaries, okay,
Wow.
which they cannot bury the dead, or they can bury the dead, they cannot embalm, they cannot even incinerate. Everything runs on electricity, including this conversation we're having on the computer right here. And without electricity, especially in the state of California, which is they're called dryland farmers, they have to irrigate, which requires pumps. Pumps take electricity. And there's just dairy farms. You can't milk 1,200 head of cattle by hand. There are so many things that would come crashing down. And
Wow.
if you want to just look it up, it's called Dark State. And my name is Christopher J. Lynch. And if you want to just read the kind of blurb on it, but quite a cast of characters in it. But the most important thing is that I did a lot of research, and there are websites out there that actually show you where these targets are. And believe it or not, they're government websites. You can go onto a government website and it will show you where every nuclear power plant is, where every gas plant is, where every transformer station is, where everything. It's called the infrastructure map of the United States. Believe me, in Russia and China, do you think they publish that stuff? No, only we do. We're basically, it's a gift to any terrorist that wants to attack us. It is sitting right there, one mouse click away from you.
Wow. This is why my job just never, it's so fascinating. And by the way, nobody I work with ever considers themselves to be an expert. It's so funny but I want to emphasize this. When you are when I say guest expert on TV, or when a producer says guest expert, yeah, that we're referring to you as an expert, but that's also sort of in air quotes. It's
Right.
just the title for that spot on the segment. It's
Mhm.
the person who's delivering information. That's it. And it doesn't mean that got a degree in the thing or whatever. It just means you're delivering information. And for
Right.
the children's books too, I had a lot of fun during the pandemic. I had a coaching client who had written a book, a children's book that was on the surface, it sounds like, what kind of expertise would she bring to the world? It's a children's book about a little girl's birthday on a whale watching boat ride. But
Oh,
it turned out there was a lot of expertise that she was able to develop. So there's like the obvious for you, the electricity stuff, which, by the way, oh my gosh, you really need to meet. I really hope you join us, because
okay.
for nothing else, I want to see you and Guy Morris have a conversation. Guy also, well, you'll know. You guys have to meet. You and Guy Morris have to meet.
Okay.
But also, you'd be surprised at how much expertise you have to deliver around that's born out of your work in children's books.
Right.
When I do public,
The children's books now.
yeah, there are conferences that I participate in, and sometimes I do workshops. And one of my favorite things to do is to meet like a room full of authors of fiction who are interested in doing TV, but they don't think that their fantasy story about fairies and gnomes and elves and dragons, that they're going to possibly have any expertise to offer the world. My favorite thing is to do just a really rapid fire round robin around the room, and pull out bits of expertise from them when they think that they're not experts. But it's so funny. Like even Lynn, even though we're starting with the sexual awakening at 70, because it's just a showstopper of a topic, right?
Right.
But her thrillers, she also, through research, gained a lot of information about psychiatry and crime, a lot of expertise around crime and murder and mystery that applies to real life true crime situations.
Right.
And so, you know, when I say expert, I mean just the deliverer of information. But I love finding expertise where people didn't think that there was expertise to be found.
Chris, what's the name? I can't remember the name of your first book. Not with you wrote a follow-up book or two.
Oh, the One-Eyed Jack series?
One-Eyed Jack, yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
my first crime novel series. And what it was, the main character, I did not want to do your standard, oh, this is a cop who carries this guilt because his partner got shot, and so he has an alcohol problem and he gets divorced. That's been done and done and done. My main character, my protagonist, was a professional blackmailer, and that's all he did. Usually a blackmailer was a minor character or a secondary character in a book, but my character was the main character, and all he did was blackmail people. He would find out your secret, he would document it so it was irrefutable, then he would make anonymous contact with you and set up an easy monthly payment plan. And his motto was, your secrets are safe with me. And that was all he did. And actually, I did a book trailer video, which opens it. It's most book trailers are kind of a slideshow with a little bit of music, maybe some narration. Mine was done almost like the opening scene of a television show called One-Eyed Jack.
Great. It's great.
And yeah, you can look it up. It's called One-Eyed Jack book video trailer, or if you want, uh, I can send you the link to it if you'd like that, Darice.
I love that. Well, you're going to have a hard time getting away from me now, Chris.
Well, yeah, that was
Consider me intrigued. Interest peaked.
yeah, that was my first prime. That was I did 4 books in that series, but I was interrupted because I did the celebrity biography on Eddie Haskell, and so I'm kind of an expert on Eddie Haskell, but that it's a little bit passé at this point. But really, the Dark State book, I mean, they just foiled an attempted attack on the grid where I live in Tennessee by somebody. So this is not a question of if, it's a question of when. And they had that incident in, what was it, North or South Carolina about a year ago, where somebody did exactly what I said in my book, and my phone started blowing up with everybody saying, "Hey, Chris, did you see this? They must have read Dark State." So yeah, it's I would say, if anything, I'm very well versed in it. Let's put it that way. Expert? No, I would never apply that to myself, but I'm very well versed, and it's because I did so much homework on it that built upon my knowledge as an electrician.
Wow. There was something that happened several years back that
In California?
I don't remember where it was, but it came from Russia. And it was, I don't know if it was a threat or an attempt or something.
Yeah. Well,
I don't remember, but I mean, I remember thinking, our infrastructure has got to be so vulnerable. I mean, I wasn't thinking about electricity specifically, but just our infrastructure in general, especially I think in states that don't care for, like, Texas doesn't care about their, a bunch of people died when their pipes were frozen and they
Right.
had no source of heat or water a few years ago.
Right. So that was because there's 3 grids in the United States. There's the Western grid, the Eastern grid, and the Texas grid, because Texas goes their own way. So the Texas grid does not connect to the other grids. So when the Texas grid goes down, there's no kind of like backup here. We can send you some electricity. So that's kind of the mindset in Texas. But the Western grid is interconnected. I think there's 12. They call it the donut. It's interconnected, all these different states. But California is, it's 25 HPT, high power transformer stations, and they are out in remote areas typically. And all you could take them down with nothing more than a high powered rifle. And
Wow.
the units themselves are not even made in the United States anymore. They're made in China and in Europe. And you know what the lead time is on them? A year. So you take out a key component of the grid, and it's a year lead time to get another one.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and
Wow.
if I could, let me just tell you a little bit about my children's book series that I'm writing.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, it's called Ripple Effects, and the premise is 3 middle grade kids, which is the about 8 to say 12 or 9 to 12 age group, which middle grade books are kind of the last, if you will, innocence in children's literature. Once you go into the young adult, now you start getting into relationships and sexuality and divorce and all this stuff. So the middle grade books are kind of the last chance to just be innocent and have, adventurous fun. So in it, my three characters inherit a time machine from their late science teacher, and he comes back to them in time. He doesn't return from the dead per se, and he sends them on missions to inspire past inventors, some famous, some not so famous, and make sure that they are inspired to continue working on their inventions. So the Wright brothers at one point were ready to throw in the towel on the airplane and just go back to making books. Now imagine if you could take the Wright brothers right at that lowest point in their attempts to create the airplane and bring them forward in time and put them on a commercial jet and let them fly and see what the ripple effects of their work is.
That's a great idea.
Mhm.
And so that book's already finished. I'm going to write 2 books and be working on the third when I start hitting up agents to try to sell the series. The second book is, he's a hero in Mexico, but he's hardly known in the United States, and his name is Guillermo Camarena. He was patented the very first color television in Mexico, and it did not get adopted as the TV standard. There was a big battle within the FCC between different standards. Well, his standard did not get picked up, adopted as the standard, his system. But here's what's most important, and the kids will be taking him forward into the future circa 1979 to Jet Propulsion Lab, because NASA liked his system better than the other system, so they used it on the space probe to take the first ever pictures of the planet Jupiter on the Voyager spacecraft.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess I'm becoming an expert on the Wright brothers and
Right.
Guillermo
Yeah.
Camarena.
Exactly. Well, you are. If you have information in the eyes of a TV producer, you're an expert.
Yeah,
At least for those few minutes that you're doing it. I love all of that. It's the children's book stuff is interesting to me because, especially the age range that you're talking about, because there's fun and imagination. But I love that you are including facts and history and some kind of deep thinking, right?
right.
Thinking about a ripple effect at that age, because I don't think it's something that we hear other people talking about to them, like, what would happen if this, and this,
Right. Right. Could Alexander Graham Bell imagine the smartphone of today? No.
Right.
Imagine taking Thomas Edison to Times Square with all the lights lit up.
Right.
And there's over 600 inventors in the Inventors Hall of Fame in the it's in Virginia, I believe. And so the amount of stories out there is almost unlimited. And
Yeah.
the effect it has on our everyday lives. The third book in the series is going to be on Madame Curie, who was the one who discovered that radiation can kill cancer cells. Now imagine and she was actually, she could not receive an award because she was a female. Her husband had to had to be the one who got the award, because they would not award her because she was a female. Now imagine if you took her at her lowest point of disappointment and brought her forward into a modern cancer radiation ward and saw all the good that her work is doing.
And the women who are working in the industry.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yeah, all of that. Oh my gosh. So there's the fun, like the imagination, the kind of fun fantasy part of it. There's history, there's STEM, I'm hearing a lot of science, and there's critical thinking and social issues.
right. And the most important thing with is the kids are the hero of the story. And actually their professor, their science teacher, he speaks in riddles and gives them very little information about what they're supposed to do. So they're on their own as far as figuring out how are they going to do this. And
Wow.
matter of fact, the mission he's sending them on now, going back to Mexico City, they want to know more about it. And he says, you're going back to make sure that we have the best TV in space. And that's the name of the book, The Best TV in Space.
Wow. This is like Back to the Future on,
Mm-hmm.
it's like educational Back to the Future.
Right. And what I think would be,
Good idea, Chris.
I think would be so neat, especially with, say, somebody who, like I said, is a hero in Mexico. He's taught in the schools and everything, but very few people have heard of Guillermo Camareno in the United States. So I think it would be just completely awesome for these kids, these American kids, to learn about it and to be able to tell their parents, say, oh, Mom, you know who the first person who ever invented a color television was? He's from Mexico, and they used his television up in space. How cool would that be?
Mom would be like, that's great. Google, Google, Google. Oh my God, these kids. Yeah, sure, I knew it. Oh, how fun. Well, I am looking forward to getting to know you. And thank you so much
Sure thing.
for helping Lynn with this. Lynn is one of those clients who has, I mean, Lynn shows up for every workshop, every event that I've put on, consistent about showing up on, we call them hive mind, by the way.
Okay.
Our calls, we call them hive mind calls. Does her homework, spends time with me, working on various skills and developing content. And Lynn was also the very first Publicity Lab member.
Oh,
And just very special to me. So, so thank you so much for supporting Lynn. And I've enjoyed getting to know you. And now I want to know more. So send me those links.
okay.
And I'll get you set up as I'm going to give you a free membership to the
Okay.
Publicity Lab. And hopefully we'll get to know each other a lot better.
Sounds great. One hand
All
washing.
right, guys. Okay, great job.
Hey,
Okay.
We'll see you next time.
Yep. All righty.
okay.
Okay. Bye, guys.